begin.
Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Misha Lives. This vlog is about all things living single, life after divorce, dog mom, lifestyle. I'll be sharing what my life looks like on a weekly basis as I am rebuilding and getting back to me. I'm definitely in my glow up season, so I hope that you guys are able to take something positive from me sharing my experiences. And again, I thank you for stopping by. Let me know in the comments if you stop by. I'd be more than happy to meet you. And I hope you enjoy episode 1, which is my divorce story. Let's talk about the beginning. So I met my ex-husband at the end of 2017, and we started dating in 2018. Now, when I met my ex-husband, I did not know, obviously, that he was going to be my husband. But I am not surprised that I met my husband-to-be when I did, because I kept having a feeling that I was going to meet my husband soon. And so prior to me meeting him, all of 2017, I was single. I broke up with my prior boyfriend earlier in the year. I ended up moving to San Diego because I was offered the opportunity by one of my best friends. So I took that opportunity, quit my job, wasn't really feeling it anyways, started working for myself all the way up until I moved to California. And for the duration of the year, I stayed single. Okay, like single, wasn't sleeping with nobody, wasn't booed up with nobody. There was nobody out there that thought I was their girlfriend. I was single, okay? And I was focused on myself and building my business at the time. So when I met my now ex-husband at the end of 2017, it was because I took a contract position at a finance company and he worked in facilities management there. So at the time of meeting him, again, I don't know who he is. I really don't care. I honestly didn't like him as a person. In general, he just kind of, when I first saw him, I thought he was cute. And I remember saying to a coworker, oh, you know, like he cute, he get it, you know, all the things you would be kikiing about with a female coworker. But after I engaged with him, I did not like him as a person. He just rubbed me the wrong way. And he was a year younger than me. So this would go on from December 2017 all the way up until March of 2018, end of March 2018, when we actually started dating. Okay, after we first hung out. So, like I said, I started to kind of get the feeling that I was going to meet my husband. I told myself, your husband's not going to bust your window out and come get you out of the house. You need to open yourself back up to dating again. So I did that. And once I made the conscious decision that in 2018 I would start dating again, I actually started meeting men. So he was not the first guy that I actually started talking to, so to speak. I actually started talking to, people before him. And I went into dating in 2018 as I didn't have any expectations. I wanted it to be just very detached. I just wasn't into, like, while the goal was, yes, dating to marry if I decided to date, I wanted to kind of ease in, have a little fun first. I feel like I had never had a season where I just kind of had fun, right? Like, I feel like every interaction I've had with the opposite sex was just serious, and I just wanted to have fun. I wasn't really looking for a boyfriend per se. I just wanted to kind of, let me dip my toe, let me see what's out there. Plus, I heard California was like a really hard market to date in. So, did that. Like I said, had, a couple guys I would kind of kick it with here and there. And then, like, one of the guys I actually used to hang with a lot. So, that kind of went on to be like a recurring theme for like a 3-month or so span. And then I started dating my ex-husband at the tail end of that, kind of like fizzling out. And so I started dating my ex-husband in 2018, March, like I said, end of March 2018. I would say once we started dating, we were pretty inseparable. We spent a lot of time together. He, of all people that I've probably dated, he's lived in the closest proximity. I am used to dating guys that don't live near me, or they live far away, or they're, 30 minutes, 45 minutes away, sometimes an hour. It's like I'm not used to that. So like he was like 15 minutes away from me. 10 minutes, depending on if you took the freeway. So he was very, very close to where I stayed. So naturally, we started hanging out with each other a lot. One of the things that I do feel like he got right was from jump, he definitely was a courting type guy. So I guess you could say, he probably had the mindset that, hey, I'm dating to marry. Like he was also talking to a few women, upon us kind of starting to see each other. And we were both very honest about that. And so I kind of liked how he was moving once I did decide to give him a chance. Because keep in mind, I didn't like this man. And I just always think about I always think about what my mom would tell me growing up is like first impressions last. Like your first impression of a person usually ends up being your last impression of a person. And I would have to say with this situation that was true, and I'll get to that at the end, okay? So basically we kind of got tricked into hanging out with each other. There was a situation that happened at the end of March where we had some mutual friends and they were all like, oh yeah, we're all going to come over. We're going to come over and swim in your pool. We're going to barbecue. Woo, woo, woo. I'm like, okay, we're going to have some people over after work. Nobody came. He was the only person that came after work. He was still in his work clothes and everything. So that was an opportunity for us to get to know each other, talk. And so I got to know him outside of work, which, because I feel like at work you can't really get to know people. So I got to know him outside of work. And honestly, I liked the conversation that, we had. I like kind of how he was carrying himself away from everything else. So that's what kind of made me like, okay, I'll keep, I kind of see where the situation go. I would say about a month and a half into us dating, I prayed to God because, baby, I was tired of wasting my time. Like, at this point, I'm already 28, okay? He 27. I ain't trying to waste my time with nobody else's son. So I had to pray about it. I pray about a lot of things and I always seek guidance on a lot of things. I'm very spiritually in tune like that. A lot of stuff that I do is not stuff like, to other people, it looks like I'm jumping the gun or, oh, I'm just like, a risky person or whatever. Like, a lot of stuff that I do is because I'm being led by spirit. And so like, I don't expect people to understand that. It's just, that's my covenant with me and God, and I'm tapped in that way, so, I prayed to God because I did not want to waste my time anymore. And I was just like, okay, things are going relatively well for the most part. Is this the guy for me? Is this the guy that I'm supposed to be with, that I'm going to marry in? Like, let me know now so I don't waste any more time with this person. And it wasn't that I got a clear yes, but I got a feeling within my spirits that it was a yes. Like, this is the person you are going to marry. Now, looking back, and one thing I learned about life, God will give you an answer, whether it comes in a form of a sign, a feeling, a gut feeling, so on and so forth. But the thing is, sometimes we ask for things and he will give them to us, but he never gives you a clear indication of how long you're going to have it, what's the time frame, what's the purpose, of it. And so looking back on my situation, I kind of feel like, to this day, like, yes, I do believe that that's what God told me, but what he didn't tell me was how long I was actually going to be married to this person. And because sometimes people do literally just come into your life for a reason and a season, and sometimes really for you to learn a lesson. So here we are. So I felt like I got that sign from God. I didn't say anything to anybody. Okay. I would say about another month went past and I confided in a friend of mine who is a married woman and she is still married. And I told her, like, hey, I start, because in the beginning, I don't want to tell nobody about him. I don't want to get my hopes high. I don't want to get nobody else's hopes high. So we weren't posting pictures. We wasn't telling nobody nothing. Like the people, like I had a roommate at the time. Like I was staying with one of my best friends, so he knew about him, but like people didn't know. Like we wasn't really out there like, oh yeah, we're dating each other, blah blah blah. Like we wasn't quick to take no pictures. We wasn't quick to bring each other around other people that we know. We just wanted to simply enjoy each other without the hustle and bustle of people being in your business, because that's what they do. And I don't like people being in my business. Okay, like to this day, I'm a very private person. I tell you what I want you to know, and I'll leave it at that. So, that's what we did. So I would say about 3 months in. So that's right after I told my friend who I confided in. Um, 3.5 months in. That would bring us from March to yeah. So probably around June, around this time, probably even that I'm shooting this, he actually said to me while we were hanging out in my room and just we were like watching something on my iPad. We were just like laying down in bed, and he told me like, yeah, God told me, because he was a God-fearing man too, so that was a must. He told me like, God told me you supposed to be my wife, and you're gonna be my wife. So blah 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 blah. This is all new to me. Now disclaimer: the difference between me and my ex, I had past relationship experiences. Him, not so much. Like, he had dated people prior, but he hadn't really had like a girlfriend in the capacity that I would end up being a girlfriend for him. Like, he might have had like his little 6 months, whatever, and you know what I'm saying, where you maybe thought you had a girlfriend, but then you didn't. They might have, he got cheated on, whatever. So he hadn't really had a relationship. He hadn't lived with nobody prior. I did. My last relationship, I had actually lived with somebody for the first time. So, I could tell that was like a lot for him to take in. But it was funny in the moment because, again, like I told you, I'm very spiritually locked in to this day. I just be knowing stuff. Like, my friends will tell you, like, I just be knowing stuff. Like, I'll tell them and I'll be like, this is what's about to happen. And then it'll happen. And they be like, how did you know? I just be knowing stuff. So we went on a date for the duration of 2018. We ended up moving in together that fall. I would say about 7 months into dating. Then we started going around each, more people that other people knew. Now, naturally, my friends that I already had, they already knew because we all worked together. And then once he kind of left the company, then I was like honest about it. And then I ended up leaving the company. So, our birthdays came and went. His birthday's 10 days after mine. We had a good time. We had a good summer. A lot of togetherness, a lot of connecting. Went on dates all the time, weekly, multiple times a week. He was really good with that all the way up until the end of the marriage. We went on a date at least once every week, consistently. He was very consistent about that. And so, which to me was like a no-brainer, right? So I'd say about 7 months into our relationship, I went to church with him, and that's when he kind of introduced everybody to me as his girlfriend. In the late fall, we moved in with each other because my roommate at the time wanted to move somewhere else more expensive. His roommate at the time wanted to move somewhere else more expensive. We both somewhere like, no, like, okay, California already expensive as it is. I like to find something that's within my means. And so we were both on the same page with that. And so we decided at this point, okay, if we're both, at this point, by then, I had also, and by the time we were together and before we moved in together, I had already revealed, like, yes, God told me we were supposed to be together too. So we just, at this point, was like, it ain't no guessing. We know that we're going to end up together. Let's just enjoy getting to know each other. We know how it's going to end. Let's do the things that we need to do to move the relationship along. And so that was the agreement that we had. And so we were like, okay, yeah, like, let's move in together. I let him think about it because he had to think about it for a minute. Because again, it's a lot for him. For me, it was just like, it was a no-brainer. Like, I had a boyfriend. We both don't want to move back in with other people. It makes sense to me for us to move in together. So we did that. Keep in mind, I've always made more than him. I was always the breadwinner of the relationship. So, I understand the whole, like, maybe having to convince a person that doesn't have much, sure. Looking back, I definitely can understand that. Because he never was like a jump the gun type person. He was always very hesitant on anything that was presented. So, but looking back, I feel like I know why, and we'll get to that at the end. So we moved in together. Luckily, I got another job where I made, obviously, some new coworker friends. One of my coworkers had a condo that they own, and he was looking for a renter. So we ended up renting his condo, and that would be the condo that we live in up until we moved for about 3 years. And we rented a condo in the city, and that's where we stayed, and that's where the bulk of our relationship took place. So moving into that condo, um, I knew by the time, well, some of my friends knew by my birthday weekend that he wanted to marry me, so he made that known. We moved in together. January, we traveled back to my hometown in Michigan, and he met my family. So we're already living with each other 2 months now, and obviously they're aware. So it's just like, okay, it's getting serious. Y'all move in. Keep in mind, it still ain't a year mark yet. So he goes to ask for my hand in marriage. I guess I wasn't there. He asked my stepdad. My dad was not available at that time. He was not in town. He was away. And, you know, that's what it was from there. We came into town. He met my family, both sides. Most majority of the people on both sides of my family had dinner together, took family pictures, left. 2 weeks later, we get our rings. My closest cousin to me passed away on the same day that I got my ring. In the same day of my official engagement, but we kept it, we pushed forward. That was something that was very hard that happened at the beginning of our engagement. But we continued on. We kept it moving. So, we got married. We officially ended up getting married. We were engaged early 2019, and we officially got married in the summer of 2020. So we had an 18-month engagement. We were engaged for about almost a year. Yeah, we were engaged for a year and a half. So early marriage, they say that first year of marriage is hard. When I say I felt that, and I think ours was even harder because we got married during the pandemic. And 4 months before we were due to be married legally, the pandemic hit and the world shut down. Now, we're getting ready to get married. Dresses have been paid for. The venue is secured. Things are paid for. So we had a couple options as we got closer to, and the world was still shut down in June. It was postpone a wedding or, in hope that you can get married next year. Keep in mind, my mindset was, well, we don't know how long this is going to last, right? So it's either we wait on the world or we do what God has called us to do. And again, I remember my wedding, the night before my wedding and the day before my wedding, and thinking, this could turn out to be a train wreck later, just based off of the things that I had seen and the things that we had already been through. But I was committed. We had gotten this far. We had already legally got married 16 16 days before our actual ceremony. Oh, because by the way, because the world was shut down, at that point, nobody would marry us. We couldn't even do our premarital counseling because there was nobody available. People were getting sick. People were dying. So we were trying to push through a crisis that was happening with the world in hopes of not losing out on any money, in hopes of our stuff not getting pushed to next year, and then somebody trying to run off with our money because all of a sudden something else has happened and they can't, follow through on their obligations. So we just chose to pick up our shit and cross the street. We got married at the courthouse on July 13th. And then we still had our ceremony for our close family and friends and our reception on July 31st. This meant that because we got married during the pandemic, we were not allowed to dance at my reception. So I did not have a normal reception like everybody else. I know that that's the part that everybody looks forward to. We still had as close of a ceremony as possible, and we exchanged vows. But it was overall just very much so not like I would have ever imagined as that young girl who was excited about, one of the most important things that's supposed to happen to her in her life. But anywho, at the time you're like, okay, Well, I still got to marry my best friend, so we're going to move forward. You know, we got the rest of our lives with each other, and we can always do a do-over again at some point, right? That's a hope that you have. That first year of marriage was definitely very rough, with COVID being a factor, dealing with the fact of being isolated from everybody else, dealing with the fact of, you know, just the first year of marriage already being hard, can't go home, more than 2,000 miles away from your family and friends, and everybody that you are very close with, not having really much of a support system from his family that actually does live in town. And overall, it just became very, very hard to deal with. But one of the things that the pandemic did do, there were a lot of couples that the pandemic broke up. One of the things that the pandemic did do is it did force you to have to spend, and we were already spending a lot of time together, but it forced you to have to spend time with one person singularly, unless you are an essential worker. So he was an essential worker. I wasn't. I was working from home. He was leaving the house every day. So, you know, the pandemic took a toll on people's mental health. It definitely took a toll on my mental health. I ended up actually having a nervous breakdown in early 2021. And all of the things that was happening and that I felt like was happening, and, you know, it just seems like kind of like the walls were just caving in on me, because you're dealing with, one, I don't think I married the right person, but two, then these are all things that I was seeing leading up to us getting married, right? So we're talking about after the making your intention. I would say once I moved in with him, I kind of really started to see him as a person. I saw a lot of things before, but I always tell people, you don't know people until you start living with them, right? And so when you live with a person, things start to kind of unravel. They can't really hide much from you anymore because they live with you. So it's not so much so that you're looking for something, but you kind of just start to notice things that he would have probably been able to hide. You know what I'm saying? If y'all didn't live together. So that was a thing. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, because this vlog really isn't about bashing my ex or, you know, like trying to paint this picture of him being this type of person. It's really about, you know, the fact that sometimes you get married and it's just the wrong person for you. Okay. It's not that, you know, oh, well, they ain't gonna never. I wholeheartedly feel, you know, it ain't that, oh, it ain't nobody out there for them, they was just terrible. I wholeheartedly think that there's somebody else out there for him that is better than I. We were just not right for each other. And that is what this experience taught me, is that compatibility is a real thing. So early years of marriage were rough. I don't think a lot of people were like, oh, I had a honeymoon phase. I don't feel like our honeymoon stage lasted long at all. I think stuff got really real for us really fast. You know, we were dealing with family deaths, and, you know, there were medical issues happening and financial issues happening. And so we were hit with some pretty serious ordeals pretty soon on in the relationship. And it was just like a back-to-back thing, right? But I feel like where I kind of was, I'm definitely a person that's been through a lot in life consistently, and there's just always something. And I understand that there's always going to be something. I don't think he had so much so grasped that, even though he was a person who had also been through a lot, I think it was probably a lot where a person would feel like, I can't even catch my breath, like, damn. And so some people, when dealing with conflict, they will shut down. I know some people, you know, think that, oh yeah, I think that a person, no, some people legit do that. Now, it ain't that you think that. I'm gonna stop talking to you. If something irritating me, but I'm not a shut down in life type person. I understand that there are still things that need to be done in order to move us forward. And some people are a shut down in life type person where they're like, I'm gonna let everybody else deal with it. I ain't got nothing but you, right? So that's where we were very different. And though I could kind of understand what was going on, I still didn't understand what was going on. Because when you're dealing with a person that they're telling you one thing, but they're doing the complete opposite, that can become very daunting, where it's like, okay, now, you know, you're kind of looking at that person like, I know some people, you know, think that, oh yeah, I think that a person, no, like some people legit do that. Now, it ain't that you think that. I'm more of a, I'm gonna stop talking to you. Like, if something irritating me, but I'm not a like shut down in life type person. Like, I understand that there are still things that need to be done in order to move us forward. And some people are a shut down in life type person where they're like, I'm gonna let everybody else deal with it. I ain't got nothing but you, right? So that's where we were very different. And though I could kind of understand what was going on, I still didn't understand what was going on. Because when you're dealing with a person that they're telling you one thing, but they're doing the complete opposite, that can become very daunting where it's like, okay, now, you're kind of looking at that person like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's some dishonesty. There's some, not being completely honest with who you are as a person and how you show up in life and, what it is that you actually are capable of, which ends up coming out later eventually. But that was some of the things that kind of we were going through in marriage. So the challenges of our marriage were that we were very incompatible as it came to dealing with setbacks in life and life difficulties, because at the end of the day, you're gonna have difficulties in life gonna happen. Trust me, I'm just as annoyed as much as everybody else, because when I tell you, like, if you knew my life story, like, it ain't peachy keen. It may never be, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of times where I felt like, why was I dealt the card as I was dealt? This ain't fair. This ain't, yeah, I could feel like that all day, but I'm not the type to play victim. And I know that until I kick the bucket, I'm on this earth for a reason. There's a reason why I'm here. There's a purpose for, why I'm here and what I'm doing. There's a reason I'm connected to the people I'm connected to. There's a reason I've been called to the people that I've been called to, whether it be for a good time, not a long time, or for a long time, because there's some people that's been in my life that they've been around for a while, but then there's some people that's literally come and went out of my life. Some people are seasonal, some people are, semi-permanent. Nothing's permanent, so I'm gonna say semi-permanent, meaning that you got some life riders and then you got some people that are just seasonal. And sometimes you do happen to marry those people. And so that's what some of our challenges were. Some of our challenges were we were just financially incompatible. I'm just, like I said, without going into too much information, we were very financially incompatible. We were very incompatible when it came to livelihoods and lifestyles and how we both wanted to live, which thank God we didn't have kids, because that would have become a big issue later, so we're very incompatible with the way that we care about things. Our priorities were a lot different, even though, you get into a relationship and a person tries to convince you that, oh yeah, like I want the same thing, like all the way to the end, that like that person was trying to convince me that I want the same things you want. And I'm just like, no, yeah, not buying it, because your actions look completely different. Like, my actions align with what I say I want, yours don't. So, that's the thing too, where you do have to use your discernment, and you can't want. My message to anybody that does want to be married or is married and they might be going through something similar, you can't want to be married so bad that you're going up against everything that you believe in and everything that's, you're disregarding your moral compass. I'm very, very God driven and very God led. And so I'm very intentional with everything that I do. You have a lot of people that claim to be this way. You have a lot of people that claim to believe in God, but they're very, very lukewarm in that aspect. They're very, like, oh, I'm rocking with God when it's convenient for me. They're very much so like that, and so I saw a lot of that coming out as well, where it was like, okay, you think you're dealing with a God-fearing person, but they're not really moving in a God-fearing way. So there was just like a lot of just incompatibility, and those were like very much so challenges in our marriage. I don't expect to be with anybody that is completely the same as me, but we definitely have to come into agreement when it comes to, moral compass, priorities, like all of those things we have to be on the same page with. And so me personally, I couldn't do the 15, 20 years, 30 years of marriage and me being unhappy, God forbid some kids come into the picture and I'm just having to deal with it because it's just how he always been. Some personal growth, realization of limits, and some standards that I had to kind of recheck, going into the marriage and coming out of it. I feel like in this relationship, there was a lot of my boundaries being crossed. We had several conversations about it. He even was in agreement with me about it. Eventually, that he was overstepping my boundaries when it came to a lot of things. So that also played a part into, me kind of getting to a point of realizing, am I really going to be able to live my life like this for the rest of my life? Because this person just feels like, like basically like their needs and wants and what they care about is more important than me and what's making me uncomfortable. So, it came down to that as well, where it was just like, you get to a point where you do feel like it's a ball and chain. Like I learned what like the whole ball and chain analogy came from. Like I felt that literally in my marriage, and you start to feel suffocated after a while, not because, oh, I'm always around this person, but because it's like, I can't even really do the things that I want to do because the things that this person is doing is affecting the things that I've put into place and that I've worked hard for, and now it's affecting that, and I can't even do what I want to do with my life. And that's still going on. Like I'm still dealing with the aftermath, because essentially I was the one that took the hit coming out of the marriage because I was the breadwinner. So it just was a big lesson on just, just what are my limits? What are my standards? What am I willing to ignore? What am I willing to compromise for? And what am I willing to ignore? And there were some things that I just could not compromise on. I had tried it. I tried to do it for 5 years, and everybody's limits are different. It's very easy for somebody to tell you, oh, you should have stayed married, and da da da, and people will try to downplay how you feel all day. But I want to encourage anybody out there that's having thoughts going in this direction, that if you could fix it, go to therapy. The person I was dealing with wouldn't go to therapy. I was in therapy quite a few times throughout the marriage. They wouldn't go to therapy. So that's another thing. I tried a lot. I tried everything that I could do to try to fix it, because I'm a very solutions-based person. But in the end, I was too self-sacrificial to where now, present day, I'm having to dig myself out of a hole because I wanted somebody to be something that they just was not. And even though they tried to portray that they were, and I was only guilty of believing them, it's just that whole, like, again, staying locked in with God and just discernment. Now, I prayed about leaving my marriage, okay? Because I got to a point where I was like, I'm gonna need some stuff to change. I don't feel like myself. I feel like I lost myself. I never thought that was happening to me, by the way. Everybody used to talk about getting in relationships, don't lose yourself. I never thought that would happen to me. I got to a point where I didn't even recognize myself. I could look back at pictures during that time, and I'm just like, so y'all just weren't even gonna say nothing. Y'all was just gonna let me be out here looking crazy. So it was, but I really did not recognize myself at one point. Like, skin was bad, was getting fat, was, like, just you're with a person, and their ways definitely, especially if that's the only person you're around, and if that person makes it hard for you to be around other people, inevitably their ways are going to start rubbing off on you. Like, I felt like I was just like constantly trying to climb out of this like pit. And I just was like, the longer time went on, the more I just did not recognize myself. My anxiety was really, really bad. Like, my anxiety was like not bad at all until I entered this relationship. And for the longest, I was just like, I just didn't want to believe that it was that. I was just like, oh no, maybe it was my roommate or who I was like living with, or just, it literally started like the month after we started dating. Like, I have to be real with myself, right? Like, I had to be real with myself, and I kept praying to God, y'all. I kept praying to God. God was not giving me that green light. He didn't give me that green light for a long time. He did not give me that green light for a long time. And I did not leave my marriage until God said that it was okay for me to leave my marriage. He didn't give it to me, though. He didn't make it easy. So, because he did make it easy, I kept trying to do things to change myself, change my mindset. I'm listening to marriage podcasts. I'm not even waiting on my ex-husband. I'm like, I'm going to try to do what I can as a wife, because society makes you believe that you as a wife, you're supposed to fix it. You're supposed to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And I'm solutions based. So understand where I was coming from, where I felt like a failure almost, because I'm like, I can't get this situation to operate the way that it should. He was making it hard for me to partner with him financially. He wasn't being completely honest about things. He was just overall making it very hard to be in a marriage. And then, but at the same time, like, didn't want me to go. Like, it was too much. You know what I'm saying? And so I wouldn't wish the feelings that I was feeling on nobody. Um, and I had been feeling like that for like a good 2 years. So that was like where I just knew, like, I'm not doing this no more. I'm not doing this no more. So, would I ever get married again? I am at a age and time where it would have to completely make sense. The boxes would all have to be checked, and like being in love is not enough for me at this point. I think that people play on that. When people know you have a soft spot for them, they play on that. And yeah, I don't like anybody that wants to get married. I would never try to downplay or make somebody feel like they're stupid for wanting to get married. I would never do any of that. I'm not a bitter person. I don't allow life events to make me bitter. But I would be lying if I didn't say it has changed me a lot as a person. And just even dealing with other people. You know, I've seen the whole people think because they got rings on their finger, they better, when I've already been married. Like, you can't little dog a person that's already been married with the fact that you're getting married or that you're married. Um, you know, I've seen a lot of people think that that's the end all be all, and I've seen a lot of people put marriage on a pedestal. And I think that it's even more important to, one, know who you are as a person and know who it is that you're getting into a relationship with. And two, I think that it's also very important. I think it's also very important to understand that it's so important for you to have an identity outside of your marriage. Marriage is not the ultimate life accomplishment. There's a lot of other things that you're going to accomplish in life that are equally as important. People are very cliquey people. I understand the whole notion of, oh, I'm married and we're gonna have these groups and we gotta hold each other accountable. Low key is giving y'all want to be in a cult. You have people that you are around, and if you are in your marriage, I hope that you're operating from a place of realisticness, of understanding that your spouse is not perfect. You do not have to keep up and act for social media and convincing people that you guys are the perfect couple. I hope that you understand that the purpose of being married not only is to help each other grow as individuals, but also to, if you're not already working well together as partners, to learn how to work together well as partners. And if you can't, you're probably not going to be able to stay married. Some people do stay married and they just end up dealing with that for the rest of their life. Everybody has a different pain threshold. But just understand that we are all humans. Nobody's perfect. And we all have a right to make a decision. We all have a right to change our mind. And we all have a right to say, this is just not for me. Compatibility is a real thing. If you don't take anything away from this vlog today, it's an understanding that you do not have to stay somewhere where you do not feel valued, where you do not feel like it's a fit, and where you do not feel where you do not feel the environment is safe for your nervous system. Okay, so that is my divorce story. I hope that you guys that needed to take something from this today was able to take something. I hope some of you feel encouraged. Like I said, if you're going through this or getting ready to go through it or on the other side of it, definitely drop me a comment if you are. I think that is very important for those of us that are going through this to have a support group, just as it is for those people that are married. Slide in my DMs. I'm here to talk at any time. And like I said, do not be afraid to love again. I know the dating pool has pee in it, as y'all like to say, and y'all are very weary, as I am as well, of getting back out there. But if that's something that you want, go for it. Life is short. And one of the things that this has absolutely taught me is that the rules are fake. They're made up. People in society will try to control you and tell you how to live your life. So long as the way that you want to live is not affecting anybody else, do what makes you happy at the end of the day. Pray to God, stay locked in with God, allow God to guide your steps. And at the end of the day, make sure that you are keeping your purpose first and foremost, you know, making sure that you understand why it is that you're here, why you're here on this earth. That's going to be revealed if you're locked in with God. You know, God will reveal that all day to you, and make sure you just follow that. Stay the course, stay on your path. And, you know, as it pertains to any bad things that happen, at the end of the day go in, okay? And that's just how you got to take stuff. And sometimes it just is what it is. So I look forward to sharing with you guys how I am entering into my next glow up season. I am definitely on my third life. This ain't the first time I had to glow up. This ain't the first time I've had to rebuild, but we're here again. Apparently, we're subject matter experts, okay, and bounce back and glow up. So I will definitely be documenting this journey this time around, because I know that there's somebody out there that maybe is feeling a little paralyzed. Maybe they need, maybe they need some of the insight that I'm able to share, you know, as far as some of the things that I'm doing to keep my head above water. So I look forward to sharing those things with you in hopes that it helps somebody else out there. And she lived to fight another day.